Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Hilltop Settlement. Thank you so much for all the response to last week's video. I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate all your kind comments and your likes. So let's get into today's settlement build. And today what I wanted to do is build in this area up in here. And I want to use some building materials that everybody would know about, but I'm going to use them a little bit differently, and it will become apparent once we get into the build menu and we get underway. Yeah, game, that's the cue to get into the build menu. Come on, quickly. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to snap some floors off once I stop getting a frame rate drop for some reason. Snap some floors off that bridge just in front of us there. And this is really just so I can get an idea how far I need to come at, and also it'll act as something to snap these items off. So we're going to use as a starting point, we're going to use the containers today. If I can ever find the right menu. Because I've gone way past it. Let's go. Come on. Yeah, no, even I forget where the menus are. I think we all do that at times. So we're going to use the containers here. And like I said, that floor pieces that I've put in allow it to snap. Now, the reason that they'll snap for me, and I don't know, it depends what version you're using. But I have two different mod sets on here. I'm just going to push that a little bit further forward. So the mods that help me with my snapping is obviously Workshop Rearranged and also the Master Plan series. Both of those mods help me snap things on where some other you might not have as much success. So this nicely sits under that building above, which I really do like, and we're just going to snap these 1, 2, 3. There we go. Excellent. That all works. So we will. You see, I've used different now. What you would normally do with these containers is you'd use those container walls. We're not going to do that today. What I wanted to show you, and what I was saying earlier, is I want to show you how you can make the containers act as a kind of a starting foundation, and then you can start to snap whatever you like onto those. So we're looking for supports here. I'm going to go to the industrial frames, and I'm going to snap these on just to make it look as though it's supported. Although what tends to end up happening is that you don't see a lot of these supports at the end, but I want to put them in to start with. So you will see this one, so I think it's important. And again, when you're building, sometimes you're not quite sure exactly what direction you're going to go in with your build. So I was going to have these exposed, but as it turns out, I go in a completely different direction a little bit at a time. I do skip around in this one today, guys. I think there's lots of stuff that you've probably seen 100 times before, so I only kind of put the stuff that I think is going to be useful for you. And you can see suddenly we've skipped forward and we've got all those beams in place, all those supports. So there is an opportunity to have something underneath that building if we want to. Oh, I'm going to fall off a lot today, so just warning you. So we put this in as initially just so we can get up in here. I will change that a little bit differently, a little bit later, sorry. And put something a little bit different in there. So for me, these wall pieces will all snap to the containers pretty nicely. And so what I tend to do here is I want to mix and match. A really scrappy look is what I go for. Now I do change a few walls. Now the other thing is that these containers are a kind of strange size, as you kind of can gather. So this is what leads me down the path of going to the scrappy kind of look. And we've sped up a little bit because we're just putting walls on, we're snapping walls. But I encourage you to do this. Try all different walls from all different mods and just see what ends up happening. And that's what I do here. And here we are in Port Royal. We have this mod from the Master Series called Port Royal, and I have these really nice metal industrial looking walls. Fortunately they clip a little bit, but which I try and fix here, but it's I'm fine. That's fine. I can live with that. There we go. I've just pulled it out. See, that's not flush. That's now snapping to that one there. So I'm happy with that poking through. I think it adds some character, or at least that's my story today. Okay. So get the walls in, and I junk it up a little bit, and you can see now I'm hiding those supports, but I think it, for what we're looking at, this is the back end of the settlement here, and I think it works for what we need. So we've got a couple of junk fences and really junk it up, and I left this in because I think it's important to show you this part, because I've got into the habit of building more and more scrappy settlements at the moment, and one of the things that I endeavour to do is to try and get these to look as though they've been, number one, man-made, but man-made with just a whole lot of junk elements to them, and it kind of that they would be there in the game, and they're believable. Obviously there's other builds that I've done that are not so, but more recently I have been doing this a lot. And so I'm using this junk wall collection, and I'm just flicking through and seeing what I can find. And there's a lot of great options here, like this. So I'm looking, there's a little gap in there, I'm looking for something to fill it. Flick through and I find this, and I actually end up using this down the bottom too. So just drop that in there. That should fit nicely under there, and then we'll put another junk wall off to the right there, which I don't think I show you in this build. There we go. And so it's just a case of adding more and more components, and I left this in not because it's just adding junk walls, but I wanted to show you how you can use a number of these different junk walls and other kind of decoration elements to build up an overall look for your fence. Now this build realistically has probably got only another 2 or 3 weeks to run. I've already started my next build series, and I think you're going to enjoy that one. Now you can see I've supported that beam there, if you look very closely, and actually we didn't need to do that because I'm going to hide that, the fact that those supports are floating a little bit. And again, this is another way you can, if you have things floating and you have a problem with them, this is another way of just hiding that so that you can't see it. So we'll put those two in there like that. I tend to like to have the supports pointing away from the structure because it actually looks as though you're shoring up the overall structure. I think it looks different. I know that's not how they were designed, but I guess I like the look of them a lot better. So we have another gap to put in there, and so I keep flicking through and I find this particular wall, which is a whole lot of doors and boxes, and maybe flip it around like that. And I'm using place anywhere now. I've stopped using the pillar. Just put it into place roughly where I want it to go. And you can see up to the right there's just a little bit of a gap, and so I've used a couple of junk fences. Now I'm going to use a couple of decoration items to add to this, and you can do this a lot with your junk fences to make it look. So I'll put some of these boxes in like this, and it just continues that on as though it's another part of the junk fence. And so I encourage you to do this whenever you can. And we might put a couple of barrels in there. Just, yep, it's all coming together pretty well now. I'm liking it a lot. Now you can see we started off with a container, so you can't really tell that that's a container anymore. as such. Always I still have a wall to put in up to the right there, but it kind of works with the rest of the settlement, and that's I'm more worried about whether it works with the rest of the settlement rather than trying to define that it's definitely a container. It's, as I said earlier, it's just a frame for us to work on. So Port Royal comes with these windows. There we go. Put one in the other side. We'll hop over the tractor here. There we go. A whole lot of different options there. And we're getting close to the end here. So what's next? So we will build this little pathway into the house here now. As you saw earlier, I did have a shark floor in there. It wasn't working, so I'm going to make a custom walkway in here. And again, it all helps to build the overall look, and I think that's why I like to share these, to give you some ideas of what's possible, what you can use, and the different elements and how they all kind of blend in together. So what's been happening lately? There's a couple. I've added a couple of new mods, which is incredible. If you've seen my mod list, my mod load order list, you'll know that I do run a considerable amount of mods on my game, and I've added a few more just lately. The big thing that I'm excited about is Workshop Rearrange. Just got a huge update in the last couple of days. At this point, I haven't had a good look around. I have had a look at it, but I haven't had a good look at it, if that makes sense. I found a few things that are new, but I've got to obviously just go through the menus and find what is new, what's not. And I'm thinking I might do an update video to that mod. If you haven't seen my Workshop Rearranged mod review, I'll leave a link, but I'm thinking I might do an update video rather than do a full mod review of the new things. But good work to the developer. He does a great job at adding a whole lot of new elements to the mod, and I know he'd been working extremely hard on the latest update for it. And so, you know, these guys do spend hours and hours of unpaid work because they love the game as much as we do. So good work, mate, and I'm really excited to start using some of the new elements that you've added to your mod. So I'm just looking for the final piece here. You know, it's a case of flicking through, trying things, flicking through, and this is what we eventually go with. That plank would have been alright, but I think one plank is just maybe a little bit too narrow, so I'm going to add a few of them in here. And I encourage you to do this. We've done it with the Ducks project. We've done a few of these, and I really do enjoy these. And again, it all adds to that overall look of just a thrown together build. That's clipping a little bit, so I might just pull that across, just stop that clipping a little bit, rearrange it, just reduce that just slightly. There we go, and we're rocking and rolling. I do like that. I do like that a lot better than just dropping a shark bridge down, to be honest. So I'm going to fill in all these gaps now, and then we'll do the final tour. And I do, in this one, show you a completely decorated building. So stick around if you're still here, and you can see that final walkthrough. So I'm just going to speed this part up. It is just putting walls in, but at the same time I'll show you a whole lot of different elements that I use, and it may be useful for you when you come across these builds that you do which have got kind of odd shapes, and you got to fill in those gaps. These filler boards are absolutely fantastic, and I use these a heck of a lot nowadays to fill things in like this. Now I use these long ones. These long ones don't actually work because they stick at the end, and you'll see in a second. I'll go out to check and go, that's not going to work. Wrong. Try your first idea, because that is much better. There we go. Just put the little ones. And the beauty of these is they just snap into each other, just like that. I do a lot of running around in this one. I don't know how many kilometers I've actually done in this build. So with these filler boards, what they also have is they have these planks, these individual planks, and different lengths. And again, they are a godsend for, oh, pick up the plank, for just filling gaps, just like that. So that's a bit long. They will snap to each other, and there are actually shorter ones that will fit in here a bit better. There we go. We got there. Of course, I'm using place anywhere. You can snap these together, but I prefer just to leave a gap like that, so it looks like somebody's just nailed those on to kind of complete the wall. You know, you got to remember that a lot of these settlers that are left might not be builders as such. They do their best, so that's what I'm trying to go for here. Here we go. We're just going to have to switch off the collision on that just to get that to fit, because it was snapping. And there we go, guys. I think that's pretty close to the end. Now, one more plank and then we'll get into the final tour. Yep. Drop it down. Ease it in. And there we go. Done. Cool. Anti-shimmer them all. And now we'll go to the final tour. I hope you enjoy this tour, guys. You see how I kind of put this together. It needs something. It probably needs some signs and something just to give it a little bit of contrast. It's a bit all over the place, so I will put that in, but obviously there's a lot of decoration that's still got to do in this settlement. So coming to the container house, we will go, where will we go first? We'll go into the kitchen area, and you can see I've got the fridge from Creative Clutter. I've put a little bench in as a kind of pseudo kitchen, and we have a little relaxing area in here, this end. If you want to do a bit of reading, we have a little bit of a bookcase with his umbrella stand in case somebody nasty comes to the door. Your weapons are easy at hand. He's got his gun case and a nice little bedroom with a window, which is added the window a little bit later from Thematic and Practical, with a nice little outlook onto the river. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. It was a really enjoyable build. I'll show you around the outside in a minute, so you can see how everything ended up. I added a few more things. You can see I've put the wire mesh fences in the bottom there just to make it a little bit more secure, but apart from that, I think it's pretty much as we showed you in the build video. Like I said, it needs something on the outside just to break it up and give it a bit more definition. I've put a junk fence just in the corner there so you can't get in. So what I need your help with is I would like you to make some suggestions of what I can build in this area here, because that's going to be the last little area that we're going to build in before we finish the settlement. Leave your comments below, I really would appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the support. Catch you later.